You're listening to Sophie and Sebastian. In this episode, it's opposite day, which at first is very confusing, but in the end turns out to be a piece of cake. Opposite day. One day, summer was gone, and the leaves were turning colour. It rained, and when the rains ended, the fairy ring on the front lawn had magically sprouted mushrooms. The flowers in the garden were wet and sodden, and a light breeze shook the last raindrops out of the trees. A few clouds scudded across the sky, and the world felt fresh and new. To Sophie it felt like she could finally think clearly again, as if her thoughts were the smooth pebbles in a mountain stream. She was sitting in Bert and Fran's garden. They had wiped down some chairs, and Sophie was playing a game of I Spy with Bert and Sebastian. First, Bert spied something that was pink, which was an easy one, because Sophie had just painted Sebastian's toenails the day before. Then Sebastian spied something purple, which didn't take long to guess either, because there were only two purple things close by. Bert's clematis, which had just a few flowers left, and Sophie's butterfly net, which she had brought along just in case. But Sebastian said no and no. His purple thing, he said, was in the mountains, far away. Bert and Fran laughed, and Sophie said that while you could cheat a little, especially if you were just a kid, you couldn't spy something that was impossible to guess. It was her turn next. I'll show you how to do a hard one, she said. I spy with my little brown eye something that is blue. The sky, guessed Bert. Nice try, said Sophie. Keep guessing. The grass, shouted Sebastian. Nope. The sun? Don't be silly, the sun is not blue. Then Bert guessed all the blue things he could think of. The pointy hat of a garden gnome, a truck parked on the road, the colour of Fran's birthstone ring. No, no, and no, said Sophie. Guess again. Finally, Bert gave up. I'll give you a hint, said Sophie. It rhymes with lie. Bert thought for a while. Is it an eye? He said. That's it, said Sophie. I knew you would never guess it, because I said I spy with my little brown eye, but my eyes are actually blue. Sophie laughed. I don't know, said Fran. Isn't that also cheating a little? It's just tricking, said Sophie. That's what you're allowed to do in a game. Bert frowned. He said, How can you see your own eyes? I don't think that's possible. If you sort of squint, you can see your own eyes, said Sophie. And anyway, today is opposite day. Opposite day? Asked Bert. What is that? It's when you say everything opposite of what is true. Like when you see a really thin lady and you say, that woman is as fat as a pregnant elephant. Or when someone tells you to clean up your room, but they mean please keep that room as messy as possible. There's even a song about it. How does it go? Asked Fran. I forget, but it said something like, on opposite day you can pick your nose and take off all your clothes. Bert frowned. Not that you have to, said Sophie quickly. You can do whatever you like. So do you want to try opposite day? Not really, said Bert. Ah, you mean yes then. Good job. Bad job. Oh boy, said Bert. This is going to hurt my head. He was smiling. You're right, said Sophie. It's awful, isn't it? Opposite day is the worst day of the year. She winked at Bert. Fran looked confused. So, right now you're saying the opposite of what you mean? No, I'm not, said Sophie. Get it? No, I'm not. Aha, I think I'm starting not to get it, said Fran. I'm not playing, said Bert with a twinkle in his eye. You're both doing great. Terrible, said Sophie. Keep going. Just then Mrs. Wilson arrived for a visit. She was walking slowly with a cane. Good morning, everyone, she said. What's wrong? Said Fran. What's wrong? I only wished everyone a good morning, said Mrs. Wilson. She looked confused. Ah, but today is opposite day, said Fran. So you must have meant that something was wrong. I see, said Mrs. Wilson. She thought for a moment. Then she said, It's just such an ugly morning. It makes me feel as old as a turtle, and yet I look like a baby. That's what's wrong with me. Everyone had to think for a while to figure out what Mrs. Wilson actually meant. But Sebastian said, You're not a baby. He laughed. You're right, Sebastian, said Fran. This is all too perplexing. Why don't we stop celebrating opposite day and have a nice slice of cake and a glass of lemonade? Do you mean that we will continue to celebrate opposite day, but without any cake or lemonade? Said Bert. Oh, no, said Fran. I'm saying what I mean this time. How can we tell? Asked Sophie. What if you're just tricking us? You can always tell what people mean by the way they act, said Fran. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. Then Fran went inside and came out with a tray filled with cake and glasses of lemonade. Sebastian, would you like a piece? Asked Fran. Sebastian said he would, and Fran gave him a generous slice of cake. See, said Fran, I mean what I say. Now, Sophie, would you like a piece? Sophie thought for a moment. Okay, she said, I'll have a small piece, if you know what I mean. Then Fran cut her a very small piece, and Sophie was going to say something, but she thought better of it. Thanks, she said. How about you, Bert? Said Fran. Bert also thought for a while. I'll have a big piece, please. Are you being serious? Asked Fran. Absolutely. Cross my heart, hope to die. Said Fran. I'm not sure if I can trust you. Do you really hope to die? Well, no, said Bert. It's just an expression. It's just an expression, you say? Is a big piece also just an expression? You must have meant a small piece, I think. She cut a small sliver of cake. No, said Bert. Oh, you don't want any? Asked Fran. No, this is perfect. I'm glad to hear it, said Fran, because now there's plenty left for Mrs. Wilson and me, and we will have some big pieces, thank you very much, because for us it's still opposite day. Oh, no, said Sophie. You tricked us. Ha, laughed Fran. Opposite day is my favorite day of the year, and only this time I'm serious. I think we've been had, Sophie, said Bert. How about we play some more I Spy, and no tricking this time? Then it was Sebastian's turn to spy, and he said, I spy with my little eye a piece of cake. I'm going to guess it's a dragonfly, said Fran. It's probably my shirt, said Mrs. Wilson. Wrong, shouted Sebastian. It's easy. It's a piece of cake. And so it was, until Sebastian took his last bite, and then it became, well, you can probably guess what.